So nostrils or the cranial nares take you into the nasal cavity. And that's what houses the turbinates or the concave. You can still call them concave. You can call them turbinates or concave. Both are accepted. So you have the dorsal turbinates, or dorsal obviously, ventral turbinates, ventral. And then we have the meatuses like I was talking about. Those are your spaces. So the space above the dorsal turbinates would be your dorsal nasal meatus. The space below the ventral turbinates would be the ventral nasal meatus, and then between would be middle nasal meatus. The nasal septum is that very thin bone that would divide this lengthwise in half, and on either side of that, between that septum and the turbinates, you have your common nasal meatus. So that's on either side. So it's kind of like it sandwiches the nasal septum, that bone. Then you leave, so we came into the nasal cavity via the cranial nares or nostrils. These are your caudal nares, right? So we're caudal, and we leave and we go into the pharynx, which is the common pathway of everything. You have your nasal pathway, oral, esophageal, tracheal, and auditory pathways. Just everything is that common passage, and so that would be this here.
That's still caudal nares? Or
yeah. This opening here is caudal nares. Nares are like openings. Yeah. So if these are your nostrils, would be external nares or cranial nares. Those are all the same thing. So those go in, and then your caudal nares is what takes you out into the pharynx. In the pharynx, then you have your eustachian tube here, which my probe is going through, or you can call it the auditory tube. That's like when you have a cold and everything's connecting between your sinuses and your nose and your throat. That's, kind of what that is. And this takes you into the guttural pouch, and horses have a really distinct large guttural pouch, and it's used to cool blood.
Is that only in horses?
Yeah.
Because that's what John told us.
That's
It's
what
not-
Debbie kind of hinted at too.
Yeah. It's not only in horses. It might be one of those things that is not distinguishable. And I don't know where we call things, guttural pouches versus like sinuses.
So
But horses, it's the main one. So it's this,
It's the big sack.
yeah, it was this big air sac. And horses, they have a big vessel running through there. And so air comes in, and it can cool that blood as
that's
it's
what she
running
was
through.
talking about in lecture today, right?
Yeah. Horses are really
Endurance
cool.
crap.
Yeah. Well, and then turbinates in all mammals and endotherms heats air as it comes in, because it's a waste of energy, a waste of metabolism to heat up with your body, 30 degree below zero air. So it's not going to heat it up to body temperature internal. It's not going to bring it to 101, but this might bring you, with all those blood vessels in there, might bring you to like 80 degrees. So less energy your body has to use to heat up that air before it gets into your lungs. So guttural pouch. Let's see, what do we have?
Mouth.
Yeah, mouth. Straightforward, it's the mouth. The mouth.
I didn't know that.
Oh, let me show you better. This
You're not going to pass it.
is the mouth. Okay, so the food tube would be the esophagus. That's where the food goes down, and that's going to run dorsal to the trachea, which is the air tube. So the trachea is what takes air into the lungs. So there's not really anything you can see in here, but just know that the esophagus runs above, dorsal to the trachea. Your
Because the
trachea,
trachea is like the hard one, correct?
yeah, trachea is the one that looks like, the tube on a vacuum, like a shop vac or something.
Yeah.
Has the little rings, which you will, find out what those are.
The hard
Yeah,
tube.
the hard tube. The esophagus is stretchy and loose.
The shop vac. I'm gonna remember that now. If I write
looks-
shop vac on there, I'll
It
be
looks
so
like
mad.
a shop vac tubing. It really does.
You squish it because it's hard and it's like, why
It's
is
the
this-
greatest thing when you're like cleaning out an elk or a deer, and you pull you got everything out. You pull the trach and it pulls all the organs out, and it's like and it makes that like air noise.
Yeah.
It's the best thing ever. But anyway, I'll just
Never
creep you
really
out all the
thought about
time.
that.
So
Well,
the
it's
rest of
rather
it is
violent,
just
but yeah,
like the
okay.
That's just all the lungs.
okay, yeah.
Yeah.
For those of us that don't
But you
know.
can actually see.
That's the way
Right.
you do it.
Yeah.
So anyways, so your the larynx, so you go from mouth into larynx into trachea, and then your trachea comes down, and the first split would be the left and right primary bronchi. Then each of those split again into the lobular or secondary bronchus, and then those all split into the segmental bronchi, and then the last split is into the bronchioles, and then we go into like the alveoli and that, but for this lab we stop at bronchioles.
Okay.
And
Then you just have the lungs, the base, apex, hilus.
yeah.
Cardiac
Oh, and
pouch.
the in ruminants there's the extra lung, and that's the right cranial bronchus or the tracheal bronchus.
So what exactly is
Wait,
that?
what? Say that again?
The right cranial bronchus or tracheal bronchus is like they call it the extra lung
Oh, that's
in
the one
ruminants.
in ruminants, right?
And
In
pigs,
ruminants,
right?
yeah.
Pigs, yeah.
Yeah, just made a big deal out today.
And it's on like the right dorsal side of the lungs.
Yeah, because she, like, John didn't tell us about the pigs, but she made a big deal about the pigs.
So is it like another branch then, or what exactly is it?
Yeah, it's like considered in with the bronchioles and bronchi.
Right.
It
so
looks
it's like an
like
extra branch.
it looks like a it would branch off at like 2.5, like between the right and left primary bronchi and the lobular bronchus. It would split off then. And it
I'm just trying to picture
like if you drew it on there, if you
It'd be
drew a
like
little
here.
thing coming off and then a little lobe, it would be like that would be your extra lung. It just looks like an extra smaller lobe on the lungs.
Okay.
Yeah, but that seems like how much more delicate.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Instructions.
I guess the lungs would be here. You guys have any questions on this?
I want to pause it for a second.